The episode starts with Hajime Nagamo being thrown into the abyss of the Orsis Labyrinth, which is filled with monsters stronger than anything he's ever seen. When a bear severs his arm and eats it, Hajime escapes by transmuting his way deep into the ground, where he luckily discovers a mana stone that creates a constantly replenishing pool of ambrosia, healing fluid, allowing him to survive the removal of his arm. In flashbacks, it is revealed that Hajime possesses no warrior abilities. His only real ability is transmute, which allows him to manipulate matter. When his class entered the dungeon, they were met by a behemoth, and he was pushed into the abyss on purpose by one of his classmates after attempting to save Kaori. Due to intense hunger, Hajime begins to crack in the abyss and begins to hunt the extremely strong wolves with traps. Eating those monsters alters Hajime's DNA, and only the ambrosia's constant healing can save him. His body changes and grows stronger as a result of the constant tearing apart of his muscles, caused by the symbiosis of his and the monster's DNA, and the healing of the ambrosia. Following his transformation, he hunts more monsters, eating them to gain levels in their physical and magical abilities. Through trial and error, he even employs his transmutation ability to create powerful weaponry from his world, making his first handgun, Donner. Finally, he hunts and devours the bear monstrosity that devoured his arm before searching for a way deeper into the abyss. When the king learns of Hajime's death, he forbids any mention of the incident, unable to accept the death of a hero. Shizeku, Kaori's buddy, explains in flashbacks that the Pope brought their high school class and their instructor to this magical world to fight demons and monsters. She notices her classmate Hayama acting oddly, but she does not hear him, reassures himself that no one saw him hit Hajime purposely. Eventually, Hajime reaches a massive stone door and defeats the guardians, retrieving keys from their corpses. Kaori is steadfast in her determination to find Hajime. Hajime discovers a young girl trapped in a crystal behind the doors, but he decides to abandon her, believing she is in imprisonment for a reason. She admits to being an immortal vampire princess, but claims she was betrayed by an uncle who wanted her position but couldn't kill her, so he sealed her away. Hajime frees her after feeling sympathy for being betrayed himself. Deciding to abandon her old name, she asks Hajime for a new one, so he names her Yue for the moon, because her golden hair reminds him of moonlight. A giant scorpion monster attacks Hajime and Yue. Yue feeds on Hajime's blood, recovering her magic, and they kill the scorpion. While consuming the flesh, Hajime informs Yue that all vampires were wiped out 300 years ago, making her the very last vampire. Yue told him that the labyrinths around the world were built by mavericks, powerful magic users who tried and failed to defeat God. As a result, they each built a labyrinth as sanctuaries against God's wrath, and they may still be alive on the deepest floors. Hajime transforms the scorpion shell into the Schlagen the rifle. Hajime tells Yue about being betrayed and how he no longer cares about his classmates or even vengeance. He simply wants enough power to return to Japan, and since Yue no longer has a home, he invites her to accompany him. Hajime's classmates decide to revisit the labyrinth. Hajime and Yue enter a floor where all monsters are infested and psychically controlled by a plant-like monster. Yue is infected, but one of the monsters Hajime previously ate makes him immune to the infection, allowing him to kill the monster. They arrived at the lowest floor some days later and prepared to fight the ultimate boss monster. Hajime and Yue face the ultimate opponent, a massive hydra-like monster with 6 heads, each capable of a distinct sort of magic and one capable of healing the others. Yue is almost eaten, after being distracted by the fear-inducing hypnosis of a second head. So Hajime knocks her out with a kiss. Hajime uses Schlagen to destroy the 3 heads, including the healing head, and Yue uses lightning to destroy the remaining 3. Before they can relax, there was a 7th head of the monster. It tries to attack Yue but injured Hajime and destroys the rifle. Yue carries Hajime to safety after discovering him unconscious. She then attempts to use Hajime's handgun to attack but got wounded. Even when unconscious, Hajime hears Yue sobbing and manages to hurry up enough to avoid all attacks. He scatters grenades about the area, causing the roof to fall on its head and allowing Yue to kill it with lightning once and for all. Hajime faints from exhaustion when the last door opens. Aiko Hadayama, Hajime's teacher, as well as another hero, debates the Pope's insistence that heroes re-enter the labyrinth. The Pope consents to sending only willing pupils, provided that Miss Aiko continues to use her fertility magic to aid the kingdom's faltering agricultural industry. Hajime discovers they are in the Maverick's house when he wakes up in a bed next to Yue. Hajime has lost his right eye. They find the Maverick's skeleton in front of a magic circle, with the help of a spell that activates a recording the Maverick left behind. Hajime's memories are forcibly scrutinized. The Maverick introduces himself as Oscar Orcus and claims that Hajime is worthy of learning the truth about the Maverick God War for surviving his labyrinth. The behemoth that Hajame's classmates assume killed Hajime was defeated by them after they enter the labyrinth. Before vanishing, Oscar bestows upon Hajime his abilities and memories. Hajime understands that the Mavericks were really liberators. He inherited Oscar's ancient creation magic, enabling him to reframe objects. After burying Oscar, Hajime grabs his ring, which activates a surface portal. Hajime then makes the decision to take control of every labyrinth in order to use its ancient magic. Over the course of 2 months, Hajime takes advantage of Oscar's treasure library, while also creating weapons and vehicles, outfitting himself with an advanced prosthetic arm and a magical jewel to replace his eye. Yue continues to seduce him several times, so he gives her a magical ring and warns her that his plans will eventually make them enemies of the church and their god, Ahit. But she swears to stay with him anyways. A rabbit girl, Shiai Halia, waits excitedly where Hajime and Yue are supposed to be. When they arrive as they teleport to the surface, Hajime and Yue try to ignore her because they find her to be rather bothersome. When Hajime finally chooses to listen, she describes how her tribe is in danger from monsters and how she knew that Hajime would save them because of her unique ability to view the future. In return, she plans to helping them find a great tree listed in Oscar's library. Hajime agrees. Once they get in the tribe's woodland, Hajime uses a poor Shiai as bait to slay numerous monsters. The rabbit men request training from Hajime because they are sick of being defenseless. Hajime fights to get over their inborn rabbit-like timid nature. He then turns them into tough monster killers by putting them through a ruthless training regimen of kill all monsters or I'll kill you instead. Shiai leads them to a tree that Hajime believes to be the entrance to another labyrinth. But Hajime soon realizes that previous labyrinths must be conquered first, since a nearby stone slab has places for rings similar to Oscar's. In order to protect the tree until Hajime returns, the rabbit men resolve to keep practicing and get stronger. Shiai has developed feelings for Hajime and desires to travel with them. Yue is obliged to give her permission after she managed to win the duel by successfully scratching Yue's face. They arrived at the entrance to another labyrinth, the Razon Gorge, where they were greeted by the voice of hyperactive maverick Melody Ryzen, who had created a maze-like labyrinth full of practical jokes that primarily targeted Shiai. Few Hajime's classmates make the decision to leave the labyrinth and assist Eiko on the farms. After a protracted battle, Hajime and the girls manage to break the crystal heart of the boss Melody, who is controlling a massive robot at the bottom of the labyrinth. She uses the last of her energy to wish Hajime luck against their god Ahit, despite the fact that Hajime claims he has no intention of defeating Ahit. Melody assures him that he will one day be a god killer, but when they enter the treasure room, they find the actual Melody soul inside a small cartoonish golem, whom Shiai punishes for all the pranks for completing the labyrinth. She then expels them from the labyrinth through a whirlpool, though she hates rounds as she cannot swim. The Adventurers Guild commissions Hajime to locate missing adventurers, including a noble's son. They travel to a nearby farming village, unaware that Eiko and several classmates are visiting farms. Shimizu, one of Hajime's classmates, has vanished. Hajime attempts to avoid them, but they hear Shiai address him by his name. Eiko confronts him tearfully about where he has been, but he ignores her. They are confronted by an arrogant Templar knight who insults Shiai, causing Hajime to severely injure him. His classmates are shocked and terrified by his new, merciless personality, but Eiko swears she will find a way to bring him back. Later, Hajime goes to Eiko by himself to tell her the truth about the war with the demons. Hundreds of years ago, several humans had discovered the truth, that the god Ahit was not on their side and was only directing the war for his own amusement. These individuals became the liberators to free mortals from Ahit's tyranny, but through the church, god Ahit had them labeled heretics and renamed mavericks. The remaining liberators built the labyrinth to keep their ancient magic safe until someone capable of defeating Ahit came along to claim their powers. Before leaving, he also tells her, in no uncertain terms, that one of his classmates tried to kill him. The following morning, Eiko wants to learn more about the liberators, and the students obstinately insist on helping them explore the mountains for adventurers. Hajime looks for the explorers in the mountains using transmuted drones connected to his jewel eye. They find the noble's son, Will, the only survivor, who reveals they were attacked by an army of monsters and a black dragon. When they return, they are attacked by the dragon, which Hajime manages to knock out of the sky with his weapon, the pile bunker, which can drive exanthium. Before Shiai knocks the dragon out with an attack, it comes close to escaping. Hajime decides to puncturing the armor and cruelly drives the stake into the creature's only exposed flesh. However, the pain causes the dragon to reveal she is a female dragonborn. who can assume a human form, and begs him to remove the stake in exchange for all of the information she knows. She also admits that she was magically forced by someone to attack Will and his friends, and as atonement offers to assist them in finding the perpetrator. Yue persuades Hajime to spare her even though he intends to kill her. When the stake is taken out, the dragon changes into a young woman named Tio, a shameless masochist who admits she slightly enjoyed the stake. Now, their ally Tio discloses that whoever he is preparing to attack the farming village with a force of 60,000 monsters. When Aiko asked him to fight, Hajime was persuaded. He builds barriers around the settlement, dodging the advances of Tio, who finds his combination of verbal abuse and neglect attractive. Hajime chooses to honor the goddess of plenty, Miss Aiko, by dedicating their triumph to her. Subsequently, Hajime uses transformed rocket launchers and miniguns to slaughter the monster army while running out of ammunition, using Yue and Tio's magic. As the beast flees, Hajime and Shiai dash to seize the enigmatic Tide Commander. Hajime realizes that the commander is the missing Shimizu. Shimizu acknowledges that he was disappointed that he wasn't the only hero who had been summoned, particularly given how weak he was in relation to his more formidable classmates. As a result, he agreed to assassinate Aiko in exchange for strength from a demon. He scratches Aiko with a poison needle, but a monster sniper shoots him in the back. As Shimizu lies dying, he pledges loyalty to Hajime, who then cruelly executes him after spotting the lying in his eyes. This ruthless execution destroys Aiko. As they go, Yue correctly deduces that the sniper was shooting at Mrs. Aiko. As a result, Hajime killed Shimizu so that Aiko would blame him rather than herself, allowing her to psychologically recuperate much more quickly. Hajime returns Will to his father and claims his reward. When a slavering gang kidnaps a rare mermaid child named Miyu and decides to sell her, Hajime and the crew decide to take a break and explore the city as tourists. At an aquarium, they meet a sentient talking fish and decide to set him free. In exchange, he then passes along a report about a kidnapped mermaid, which the kidnappers decided to sell in black market, troubles Hajime. When Hajime detects the child in the underground sewers, he rescues her with Shiai. Hajime and Shiai keep Miyu safe. This upsets the slavers' boss, but they are at a loss for what to do next. In another place, Yue and Tio talk about sharing Hajime. Miyu begs to stay with Hajime, but he chooses to hand her to the city guards, handing over a heartbroken Miyu. After Miyu was abducted once more and the guard house was attacked, Hajime became furious and started killing known slavers' friends in preparation for the impending auction. By discovering the sale in a nobleman's mansion, several children were saved along the road. Hajime kills the boss, saves Miyu, then blows up the mansion with the corrupted nobles of the auction. After Miyu decides to start calling Hajime Papa, Yue, Shiai, and Tio demand Hajime get all of them pregnant with his offspring. Despite his reluctance, Hajime handles Miyu's parenting extremely well. Hajime and others go back in the city where he and the other heroes were called. Hajime encounters a terrified Endo when visiting the Adventurous Guild, one of his classmates. Then Endo warns them that Katlia, the demon, has laid a trap in the labyrinth for the rest of the class. The class is unable to approach Katlia and unable to kill her because of the number of creatures she has summoned. Hajime is unconcerned until Endo disturbs Miyu, at which point he turns down all offers of assistance. The majority of the class flees after one of the students, Suzu, gets hurt. Hayama advises making deals with the demon to stay alive. The main hero, Koki, approaches Katlia but backs off when she drops a necklace containing a photo of her lover, recognizing that she also has a life outside of the battle. With assistance from the girls, Hajime chooses to save his classmates, despite one of them attempted to kill him, considering that the majority of them are innocent. Shizuku prepared to die beside Kaori when her blade is broken, but they are both spared at the last minute by Hajime. Everyone was startled to learn that Hajime is still alive after finding a shortcut to quickly traverse the top floors. Hajime destroys Katlia's beasts by seeing through her magic. Hayama was frightened that Hajime would be identified as his attempt to murder Hajime. Shizuku was given an unbreakable sword by Hajime. Kaori is outraged when Miyu calls Hajime Papa, which confuses everyone. Katlia makes an attempt to run away but was stopped by Hajime, who then tortures her for information that would shock his friends. Hajime discovers a strong demon has emerged from one of the labyrinths and is using its antiquated magic to summon an army of monsters. Although Katlia warns him that her lover will kill him in retaliation, Hajime nonetheless murders her. Afterward, Koki is horrified that Hajime killed the defenseless Katlia. In response, Hajime chastises Koki for being incapable of carrying out the appropriate actions and threatens to kill any of his classmates who attempt to stand in his way. Kaori acknowledges her love for Hajime, but he rejects her because he already cares for Yue. To compete against Yue, Kaori is adamant about joining his team. He instructs Shizuku to retain the sword he gave her despite her attempts to return it. despite the rumor that she might be growing fond of him. As they depart in Hajame's transformed SUV, Kaori is incensed to learn that she has shared the back seat with Shiai and Tio while Yue is given the passenger seat next to Hajime. Hajime is still adamant that he will return to Japan, even if that means killing God himself. And with that, we come to the conclusion of this video. As always, if you enjoyed what you saw, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Moving forward, I'll be publishing a series of videos that are very similar to this one. Therefore, I hope to see you all at the next one.